Welcome back to How Soccer Explains Leadership. Thanks again for being a part of the conversation. I'm Phil Dark, your host, and with me is my co-host, my brother, Paul Jobson. And man, it has been a while since we have recorded. It's been a good break. I know for me, a lot has happened. We'll get into that in a minute, but a lot of recasts. So we are back with this year-end special. So, Paul, how you doing, man?
Phil, I'm doing great. It's great to be back on the pod. I do think the recasts are great though, because I think sometimes we forget we've done so many awesome episodes that I think sometimes it's great to go back and re-listen because I know even when I watch, something or hear something for the second time, I pick up on new things. So I do like the recasts. But man, it's been a while. It's great to be back with you.
Yeah, and I've really enjoyed prepping those recasts because I've gone back and listened to those episodes. I've gone back and made some clips and done some different things. And man, you're exactly right. There's so much good stuff. If you don't go back in the annals of uh, the podcast and just to listen to some of those early episodes, I mean, heck, you're the first interview of this podcast, and it was solid. It was a solid start, and it went, it did go up from there,
Yeah,
but
totally.
it started at a high starting point. I'm just so encouraged, impressed, grateful for all the guests who not only take the time to be a part of this show, but really are thoughtful, vulnerable, transparent in their answers. And we'll get into that in a little bit as we talk about kind of my favorite episodes from this year as well. We are going to do the kind of top episodes this year. If you stick around, we're going to do the top books, movies, different things we got over the course of the year. But before we get into all of that, just want to hear about, Paul Jobson update on life. And, you got a new job this year. You're doing all kinds of new stuff, going to, gallivanting all over the world, doing really cool things. So just, catch people up on Paul Jobson. What's going on?
Yeah, man, it's been a really a great year. 24 has been. I'm excited about hopefully the fruits that will come of it in 2025. But I think this has been a great year. I did start a new job, totally outside of the sports world. But what's been cool, and we'll get into this probably as we go through. There are definitely a lot of overlaps in this world and into the sports community and soccer world, not directly, but very indirectly. But that's been a fun transition. Warrior Way and Warrior Way Gives are still growing. We had a great event, end of the year event for Warrior Way Gives. Just continues to grow. Just what God's doing through Gives and how He's inspiring Marcy to lead that has been really incredible. Particularly in Guatemala, we've created an entire league down there for some communities around Antigua. And if you know that area, it's very impoverished area. There's a lot of need, but we've been able to fill it with joy and excitement through soccer and through the love of Jesus. So that's been a lot of fun to watch that grow, and excited to see kind of how that's going to develop through 2025. We've got a lot of great partners that are excited about that juncture and everything that's going on there. So that's been a lot of fun to watch that. And then locally, we've started a military's partner program where we're doing some tournaments for our active military locally here at Fort Cavazos in Texas. So we've done two tournaments now. It's just so much fun
Oh, cool.
to get our guys and women off the base for a minute and have a soccer tournament. It is just so much fun to see the joy in their faces, as they say, to get away from work for a little bit and play the game that they love. You talk about soccer explaining leadership. Those might be some fun people to have on the pod at some point, just to talk through that. But again, God's doing some amazing things through Warrior Way Gives. It's been a lot of fun to see that. I don't want to say grow because that's not the intent of it, right? But to see the things that God's doing through that. From a family perspective, man, my kids are getting older. I'm going to have a driver in 2025 in May.
Wow. Wow.
And we've got a bunch of birthdays right now. So there are six of us in the family, Phil and listeners. Uh, Five of the six birthdays are from November to February. Obviously, that includes
Mm.
Thanksgiving, Christmas, and then I have my outlier in May. So this is a very expensive segment of the year for the Jobson household. So, so, but it's a lot of fun celebrating birthdays right now and Christmas, and but we'll have a 13-year-old, and then our youngest will be 8 here this year too. So time is flying, but we're trying to capture as much of it as possible during this time, and it's been a fun 24. Honestly, it really has been a blessing, and again, really hoping to see what comes in 2025 out of the things that we've done in 2024. So that's my recap. That's my
I love
recap,
it.
Phil.
I love it. And what I love too is that if you listened to the interview with Marcy, you'll see where that military ministry started, right? I
Yeah,
mean, it kicked off there when she went over and did the crazy desert run that, was on her bucket list and, all those things. And so going back to why it's important to go back and listen to those old episodes. I'm not even going to give you more than that, folks. You got to go back and listen to that episode. If you did listen, you remember. Oh, you remember, no question. That
oh
was
yeah,
very memorable. Very memorable. I think,
yeah.
we all were wondering if she needed to go in a loony bin after that, but that's okay. That's okay. At least you and I did. I don't know. Other people probably were tracking with her. I think Ruth, one of the, our first interview this year, probably would have
Yeah,
been tracking and been on that run with her. So anyway, yeah, man, my year has been roller coaster. It's probably the best. People say, how was your year? I say it was a year. It
yeah.
was a year. We had some amazing, incredible things. My daughter got married. Man, what a cool thing that was. The daddy daughter dance completely wrecked me. I was like a emotional rock, in a good way, like
Yeah.
not cold. I was like, I got this. The first look, my son lost it because he was like bawling. It was a really, really a special moment actually. But I was like, you look beautiful, and she did.
Yeah.
And then walking her down the aisle, I didn't trip. I almost buckled. It was really close, really close. I hit like something, and yeah, and I had just had a big sciatica flare up, so my leg wasn't super
Oh,
strong. Yeah, so I was really worried, and it was uneven ground, but I held it together, gave her away. All was good, and then did my speech. You know, by the way, the speeches at that wedding were probably some of the best speeches at any wedding I've ever been a part of.
oh
Not
yeah.
mine, mine notwithstanding, but but got through that, and then the daddy daughter dance, man, butterfly kisses comes on,
Uh-oh.
and yeah, yeah, it was done. And then, like, if you had thought I was already balling, and then then I hear and then I hear, Malia say, "Dad, Dad." I heard daddy. I don't think she said daddy, but I heard daddy in my head. She said,
Yeah.
"Dad, this is the part." And it was, she changed her name today, part of the song.
Hmm.
Gosh, dude, not something you're gonna have to deal
No,
with
I'm not gonna
in the
get to do
future.
that. Yeah.
But it was pretty special. And then she wiped away my tear.
Oh,
Oh, dude, seriously, it was like, what the heck? So that was pretty awesome. Not pretty awesome. That was one of the most special days of my life. And it was perfect, perfect wedding. And then, outside of that, I mean, that obviously was one of the outside of births and, marriages and of yourself. Like, actually, this was probably more special than, I mean, don't tell Becca I said that, but, um,
she may agree,
well,
honestly.
she probably would for sure. I not probably, she 100% would agree. It was because, we created her, God created her through us, right? And so it's
Right.
something to see that, to see her grow, and then to see what the other kids are doing as well. So cool. We had another driver, which was huge because we didn't have a driver in our house for over a year after having a drivers in our house for several years straight. Um, it made getting to practices and stuff. Parents out there, you know what I'm talking about here. Going to practices and not having to go take and pick up and all that stuff, or sit there or go to the coffee shop or whatever. Man, we missed that. So that was great. Um, and daughter went to South Africa and Brazil with YWAM. My son, unfortunately, this is where the roller coaster comes in. He had to stop playing soccer because he got his fifth concussion at the beginning of this year.
Mm.
So that was really hard. But to see the flip side of it, God. gave him a love for music, and he was able to do some things musically this fall. Um, like he got to do a worship gig at a camp, the camp that we actually go to every summer during one of his team's road trips. So he wouldn't have been able to do that if he was playing. So you see different ways that you know, God gives you gifts when he takes, you know, things are taken away, and just to see his walk and everything else has been amazing during this time. So yeah, then I got my 13-year-old who's still doing his 13-year-old things. And super cool, of course. And yeah, as he says, you know, drip, he drip, right?
Yeah.
And he's got some Riz and some other things. I don't know if that's made its way out to Texas. Probably. Like it used to be that California was a few years ahead of everything. Now with social media, it's like it's all at the same time. There's no everyone's got Riz now, I guess. So
I
um
guess I'm not using the terms like you are, Phil, but I know what they
I'm
are.
I'm getting pretty fluent. You know, I'm coaching high school and they're coming up and saying stuff, and I have to like pretend that I know what they're talking about. So anyway, it's been a good year ministry wise. It's been some amazing things. We got to go to the La Ceiba, again in Central America with you know, like not right next door to Guatemala and Honduras. Did some training with a lot of disciple makers, and they're training them up on sports and ministry, and help launch a church in one of those communities down there, which was so cool. Made some videos that are going to 5.1 billion people with the help of AI, and just 21 different languages. So there's some really cool stuff that's been going on. I won't get into all the details, but if you want to learn about any of those things, if you want to learn about not our families, obviously, we're not going to put that all over, but the Warrior Way, warriorwaysoccer.com, right? It's
Yep, that's right.
warriorwaysoccer.com. Yep,
Hmm.
that's what I thought. That's in our show notes. And if you want to learn more about what Providence World's doing, you can do providenceworld.com. And man, I'm just so grateful. Got to do some disc training this year, uh, some soccer teams, a couple volleyball teams, some coaches, as well as a Chick-fil-A. So you
Nice.
know, if you're wanting to do any of that, you can reach out to me as well. But we're not gonna, you know, bore you with more home movies from our year, right? You know, I mean, that's basically what we're doing right now. Um, no, but you know, some of you care about that, so we want to make sure you know what's going on with us. We're at the year end. We're in our living room, hopefully, just hanging out
Oh
with you
yeah.
guys as you're going through your day. So. I want to kind of shift into a conversation that I think is important. It'll be quick, but something we might have to talk about during our halftime show. It's coming up here, season 11 or season 12. Man, we're going to be in season 12
Whew,
here,
man.
kicking that off. We did the year end show that you will hopefully have already watched, which was this is the year end show, but the highlights, kind of the top moments where we went through each of the episodes. You hopefully have listened to that already. Next week we will have Wells Thompson coming on, and you know, just a great dude. And in the meantime, I want to have this conversation because I coach high school, and recently the ECNL had a showcase in St. Louis in the middle of December. They had to cancel the last day because of frostbite concerns, and actually, some of the kids went to the hospital with frostbite. And also, the MLS Next is talking about merging or partnering with the Girls Academy, which is the reboot of the Girls Academy, which I remember back in our first conversation, Paul. I was asking you what the Girls Academy was because it was just starting up, and you said, I don't know. That's my assistant coach, Chuck's job this week is to figure that out. And I feel like we're almost 10 years down the road, and you know, the things are the same, right? And I just feel like we're putting, and we've been talking about this, but we literally put the kids in harm's way in St. Louis. We are putting the kids, I think, well behind. They're saying it's for the kids, but if it really was, they'd have one thing, in my opinion, where every kid plays against each other, and we have one competition like we used to, right? Where you just everyone's playing, and you have true champions. You have, um, you know, you have it where people aren't making a lot of money at the top on these kids. But I don't know. What do you think about all that?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's still work to be done. And I'm not sure that we're really working towards you know the best outcome. I think that the verbiage is there of what the intent is for doing the things that we're doing. I think that part of the problem too is we've got a lot of different people doing a lot of different things that they say are all for the same reason. But when everybody's doing the same thing for the same reason, it multiplies the amount of things that people are having to do, which then counteracts the reason that we're doing everything.
Hmm.
Right. So I
Yeah.
think there's a problem there. I think there's too many things, too many groups trying to do the same things. And I don't know that we're uh, creating the best environments for our players overall. And unfortunately, the dynamic is going to continue to change because at some point there's going to have to be some kind of showcase type opportunity for the transfer portal, to be quite
Right.
honest, because
Yeah.
that's the direction that the high level teams are going to be doing a lot of their recruiting is through the portal. So I wouldn't be
Hmm.
surprised if we start seeing opportunities. And this is not the high school segment of it, but when I look at it, I'm always looking at it from the attention of the college coaches too. And that's a lot of why these events are going on is for the attention of the college coaches,
Oh
because
yeah.
at the end of the day, these players are playing these environments because they're being promised an opportunity to be showcased in front of college coaches because they're going to get a soccer scholarship. Whether that's
Hmm.
true or not, it's probably not for the majority of the kids that are doing
Hmm.
it, but there's enough there and enough people having success that's being seen that that's the route to get to it. Okay. So, from the attention of the coaches, that's going to be shifting a little bit probably. Just because, I mean, on the guy side, it already has. The guy side is there's a minimal amount of kids at the highest level coming from seniors out of high school. They're coming from international. They're coming from the transfer
Yep.
portal, and then it dwindles down into high school seniors and people coming out of gap years, basically even before that. And the girls are going to start trending that way as well. But when we're looking at high school opportunities, again, I said this a long time ago at a Q&A, and I've said this on this podcast. I had a parent ask me a long time ago, "Hey, what's the best opportunity that I can give my kid to make sure that we can pay for college?" I said, "Are you talking about soccer scholarships?" They said, "Yes." I said, "Well, that's not your best opportunity. Your kid is 12, 13 years old. Why don't you just start putting money in the bank? Instead of spending two,
Hmm.
three, five, $10,000 a year on soccer to get a scholarship, start putting money in the bank. That's a better risk mitigation than your kid going all the way through this and maybe by the time they're a senior decide they don't even want to play soccer anymore.
That's
And
right.
then what have you
That's
done? And
right.
hey, but if you're doing it for the fun and the environment, all the other great things that soccer provides, absolutely do it. But I think this chase for the glorious soccer scholarship has gone too far in my mind, and it's created. There's always good, but like you say, Phil, everything has its shadow. I think we're seeing the shadows starting to grow, and hopefully
Hmm.
at some point the shadows grow to large enough that the people making decisions see it and make adjustments to where we can really get these players' well-being, not just physical but mental well-being, kind of back in order, so that they can be successful human beings in all of their pursuits.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. And it brought to mind my, my own daughter. And, all my kids have gone to, well, the two kids that played soccer both went on to play at least for a little bit in college. And both of them, for whatever reason, weren't able to finish in college, right? The two. Um, and then my third, she took off the beginning of this year. We talked about that on the show already, right? And she loved it. Then we asked about her highlights for the year. She said, "I love taking off for that time, and I also love coming back because she realized that she does love the game." But then what she said was not that we were putting pressure on her because obviously we're like, "Yeah, take off. If you don't want to ever play again, don't play again. That's fine." But she came back and she said, "Now I felt like I get to play. I wasn't playing for coaches. I wasn't playing for my teammates. I wasn't playing for soccer scholarships. I wasn't playing for anything." Which the kids, they hear each other. They're talking to, even if the parents don't put pressure on the kids, they're getting pressure from all these different places, social
Oh yeah.
media, other places, different things. So parents, you're like, "Well, I don't put pressure on my kid." Yeah, I know. I don't either. But they're feeling it.
Hmm.
Even if we don't say it, even if we don't intend to, they're feeling it from so many different areas, depending on their personality style as well, which we've talked about on this show. But a lot of the girls playing Again, this year I did my JV team and my varsity team on the disc assessments, and it was 72% of the JV team were high S personalities, and 55% of the varsity team were high S personalities. And that is going to be more and more common because those girls want to please people. They're still playing because they want to please people. And we can pretend all day long that it's different, but and some of them love the game, and I'm not saying they don't, but to your point, what we've been saying to all of our kids is, and my youngest, who's a very good soccer player, what I said to him is, your ticket will not be a soccer scholarship. Your ticket's going to be academic. So you better start getting good grades. So going back to put money in the bank and study, get good grades. I was looking at, a full ride scholarship at Biola University. If you get over 3.8 to 4.0 and you get a 1,500 above on the SAT, there's 10 opportunities to get a full ride scholarship. Now, is that hard to do those things? Yes. But if they're putting the time that they're putting into soccer and the special training and the this and that and the other thing that they're paying for, all this stuff, it's very doable. Right.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
academics is going to be way more money in academics, way more money in academics, except for that 1% of 1%. Right.
Yeah.
And even it's soccer, I don't even think it's a 1% of 1% because money's going to be going to football. It's going to be going to basketball, especially with these rule changes and everything else. So, we did talk about that NCAA settlement special. We're going to get Don Williams on to talk more about the implications of all these new things, and that's going to be a really interesting conversation, no doubt, because the landscape is changing daily.
Yeah.
And the internationals, you look at the international rosters of the NCAA Division One final, and I think it was like only like 21% or something of the rosters of the starting rosters, or maybe less, were Americans. Um, Marshall against Vermont, right? It's not like, I mean, Vermont was the surprise underdog Cinderella
The
winner,
Cinderella story. Yeah.
and they still had almost all internationals on their in their starting lineups.
Yeah.
The guy who was interviewed, the game-winning goal, he's like, "Yeah, my English isn't very good." Right? Like, I mean, that's the
Right.
reality that we're in right now. And so we say all that not to say stop playing. There's so much good. That's why we do this show. There's so much good to playing, to learning these life lessons, to being better in everything you do, right? We say that.
Yeah.
That's what soccer can do. But I think
And
we're
I
missing a
think,
lot of that
yeah, I think
because
so.
these, of
Also, to fill in, we are talking in generalities too, right?
course,
When we're talking, and there are elite athletes, there are athletes that absolutely
yes,
are going to go get college scholarships,
yes,
and there, I think one of the problems that we have is we have too many quote unquote elite platforms, and we've got a lot of non-elite athletes in these elite platforms
mm-hmm,
uh, that don't belong there. To be quite honest with you,
yeah, yeah,
and I think if actually given the facts, probably as a family would choose not to be in it, but feel like
yeah,
they've been sold as their only opportunity to, reach a destination that maybe isn't even within reach. Maybe their destination is more here, and maybe there's another. So I think that we've got to find a better way to kind of, I don't know if it's tiering it or whatever it is, but there's too many people, that say they're the elite of the elite, and
yeah,
you can't have multiple elites. You just can't, and there's not enough. It's
yeah,
on both genders of it. But again, speaking in generalities, if we're speaking to the majority of the people that are out there, um, I don't think that all this is a great fit. So I don't know. I mean, I think as a country, we're extremely large. I mean, we've talked about this in a lot of different aspects within our sport of things that we've got to navigate. But I think when we're looking at youth sports, an example, my kids, I have one kid who's playing select soccer, and it's flipped. He's playing select soccer so he can be ready and prepared to play high school soccer. That's his
mm-hmm,
reasoning. And
totally,
it's so
totally,
backwards, right? But
yeah,
the reality is, like, it's also backwards that his high school team is better than his club team.
mm-hmm,
It's just the nature of where we live. But I had a conversation recently. Somebody's like, "Hey, listen," because my kids are in a private school here in town. And I had a friend of mine come and say, "Hey, most of our friends and their kids go to this private school, but our kids are in public school, and we're just trying to decide whether we make the decision or not." And I said, "Well, what's kind of holding you back?" And they said, "Well, your kids, they're really good athletes, but are you worried that, like, being in a private school, that they're not going to have the ability to excel in athletics?" And I got quiet for a minute, and I said, "Never thought about it." wasn't
Yeah.
even part of my reasoning for why my kids are going to a certain school. And I know people choose schools because of athletics. I've seen it. I grew up with it as well. But for my kids, I'm like, I don't, that's not, if they end up being elite in something, then maybe we make some decisions down the road because of it. But they're going to these certain schools that have nothing to do with sports, quite honestly. So it just kind of shocked me. I even said to them, said, hey, listen, you know, to be honest, like the sport question really shouldn't be, in my opinion, we didn't decide that way.
Yeah.
So I think those are things I think as parents, as families, as we're navigating our children. I'm not saying that I have it right by any means, but you're talking about a household that has two adults who played high level athletics, one who is a professional to play to the world stage, and we're teaching our children, that's not the goal. Um,
Yeah.
but whatever it is that they're doing, they're going to be their best at it, and they're going to give
That's
their
right.
all. If they commit to something, they commit fully to it. I think that's the idea, um, that I can get behind. But I think there's a lot out there that can be very confusing for families.
Oh, 100%. And I love what you said there at the end. It actually reminded me this year, Justin, our youngest, um, played tackle football, and it wasn't his favorite thing in the world, similar to his father. It wasn't my favorite thing in the world. Um, and we have one of the best football teams in California. And that was part of the problem is he was third string because guys come in from everywhere to play. But what I will say is somebody asked me, did he enjoy it? I said, no, he really didn't. They won the championship, they did whatever, but he didn't enjoy it. And I said, but he learned more in that season than I think he has in all the years of playing soccer because he learned what it is to be a teammate on the bench. He learned what it is to not be the guy because in his
Yeah.
teams, he's always been the guy in soccer. He's had to learn to be anonymous and to still lead from the middle, lead from the bottom. I mean, he was literally on the bottom. They redshirted him in eighth grade. They call it red shirt.
Right.
It's all that means is you don't have to play any plays,
Yeah.
right? Because otherwise you have to play 8 plays. 8 plays is nothing in a game. They had tons of plays. I mean, he was the kicker as well sometimes. So, but he had to learn that it's not always, it's not about you in a team, right? So, what is your role? And so every conversation was, what is your role? What are you doing? How are you doing this? How are you leading? How are you keeping your attitude up? How are you giving 110% every time? 100% every time we learn you can't do 110%. But how are you? What does that look like? And so also it gives him some empathy for the kids on his soccer teams who
Mhm.
aren't getting the time, are sitting on the bench. What does it look like for him to pick up the players because he saw that they didn't really do that in football. So what does it mean to make everyone better? And so he gets back to soccer. He was so excited to get back to soccer and at full time because we said, look, if you commit into football, you're doing it.
Mhm.
You're not missing practices. You're not missing games. If conflicts with soccer, you're going to football because that's your commitment. Gets back to soccer and he's playing and the comments he's received since he's got back to soccer are, uh, Justin, you're a great players, good players do their best and do really well in a game. Great players make everyone around them better, and you're making everyone around you better now. And it was like I was so proud of him because like that's what it's about, right? Is how can you as a teammate make everyone around you better? What does that look like? And and I think if he didn't play football this year and he didn't have that kind of miserable experience, and I mean, he'll probably look back on it and enjoy a lot of it, but in the midst of it, it's like, man, at the end of the season, I found out like he hardly got in even in practice to
Yeah.
do anything. He was just standing around watching a lot of the time, which that raises questions about what are the coaches doing in that regard. But that's a whole different conversation. Um, so yeah, I think that's really good. Anyway, we could talk about this for hours and hours. We're not going to. We're gonna kind of transition now, unless you have anything to finish up on that. Any last minute thoughts?
No, the only thing that comes to mind as we're talking through this, and I think we've hit some, we start hitting some hot topics every once in a while. I'd love to hear from folks that are listening. What are some
Yeah.
hot topics that you love to hear us discuss, on some of these podcasts, or if we have certain guests on, what we need to bring out, just because I'd love to make sure we're hitting, and obviously if there's things that are suggested we have no idea about, we probably aren't going to talk about it. But I do think that we have, some knowledge of things and can discuss some things to bring out maybe some ideas that folks want to hear about as well. Because I think there's some interesting topics here, and I'd love to dive deeper into this on another time for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No doubt we will. No doubt we'll get into some of the stuff with Don Williams when we talk to him. And yeah, on that note, that's one thing I did want to say, and now as good a time as any. We would love to get more feedback from you, and we'll, shout outs on the show if you write in and different things. Don't let that stop you. If you don't want to be shouted out, just let us know you don't want to be shouted out. But like Paul just said, if you have any feedback, yes, but also questions for us to answer, guests that you think we should have on the show, and any questions you'd want to ask them. That's some of the things that I've loved doing is I get to ask questions of people um, who I've always wanted to talk with and have conversations with, and this podcast has allowed that. But if you're not going to do a podcast maybe, and you want to ask some questions of some people, make suggestions of guests and questions you'd love to ask them. So those are all things we want, we invite you to do, ask you to do. Also rate and review the show while we're talking about it. Subscribe to the show so that you get all the new episodes right in your feed. All those things help the podcast get out there. And most importantly, share it with others. If this is helping you, share it with your friends and your family, other people who would be encouraged by this, be helped by this. And I know I've shared, especially like when people ask about recruiting, I share that interview we did with Don Williams, the first one, and the interview we did with Paul as well. Like that, that I did with Paul. I guess you didn't really interview yourself. But that we had that conversation as well. Both of them were just solid recruiting advice. So people are always like, oh, we need to get someone into our club or whatever. Just share that video around. Share those episodes. Those are so helpful. And not to mention, we have a lot of interviews with college coaches who are telling us what they believe, what they feel, how they make decisions, what their defining moments are, how they coach. Like if you're thinking about a school and we have these people on, definitely check it out. If you know somebody who's thinking about some of these schools that we have the coaches on, definitely would recommend doing that as well. So, all right, well, let's shift into the best of, not best of, just our favorite. What were the most impactful episodes, I'll say? Because it's like saying which is your favorite kid. You don't have a favorite kid, but a different year they might have impacted you in different ways. Like this year, every kid impacted me, but that wedding was probably more impactful, right? To me than, and I think all my kids would agree with that, right? So what were kind of the most impactful episodes for you over the course of this year? Not the recast, because they've already had a shot, but
Yeah.
we had 13 interviews this year because we did have a lot of recasts at the end of the year. We had 13 interviews and a couple other halftime shows and whatnot, but or halftime post match, whatever. But what were your favorite of the or your most impactful of the year?
Yeah, well, I had to go back and do a little research because I knew that the Marcy episode was borderline.
Last year.
I couldn't remember if it
Yes.
was this year, last year, and
Yeah.
it was one of the
Yeah.
last ones of last
It
year.
was,
So
yes. Yes.
I
And
can
you
go
said
and
that
say,
last year. You did
yeah,
say
I
that.
did, I
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
Now I
Yeah.
know I did because I'm
Yeah.
I'm smart like that,
Yes.
and
Yes.
so I
Yes.
did my research. So hers was not this year, so I can say, I can't include her this year, unfortunately. So
Well, you just
that's
kind of
on.
did. You
I
kind of
did
just did.
because I'm
Yeah.
smart. I'm smart.
Yes, you
I'm
are.
smart, Bill.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so outside of that, should she if she had had one this year, right, it
Yes.
would have been most impactful.
Yeah. Yes, of
But
course.
you asked me to have two. I can't. I had three,
Yeah.
and so for me, and what's crazy is when we do this every year, it is so hard,
Hmm.
because I could go through every one of those episodes and go, man, I got something out of that. I got something out of that. Um, but the three that were most impactful to me were Randy Waldron was one.
Mm.
And again, somebody I've known for a long time, but learned more about his story and kind of what made him who he is, and how he approaches things. I just think there's just a wealth of knowledge there that I continue to pull things from Randy. On the In the same vein, Shellis. I mean, that guy, I didn't know as much about him, but what a very impactful story. And again, just the stories of these people really explains, why they do what they do and how they do it, and what are the most important things uh, in life when it comes to coaching, or being around people, right? It doesn't even have to be coaching.
Yeah.
Um, and the other one on my list was Todd Yelton. And again, he's a very good friend of mine. but he just has such an impactful story that he communicates very, very well. And again, these are just three, excuse me, three people that while I'm really no longer in that industry, so to speak, their stories, I think truly are testament to how soccer really does explain leadership.
Mm.
It really is
Mhm.
about leadership and how they lead in their, and not just on their teams, but in their families. And they're gentlemen who've been doing this for a long time. So you're really seeing the impact also of what they're doing. And so those are the ones I probably could put all of them into kind of a category, and that's kind of what it is. That was very impactful to me this year, even though I'm really almost fully out of that industry, so to speak. Uh, I'm not coaching anymore, but to me, having been in that for so long, the
Yeah.
transition over into everything in life that they speak to really makes a lot of sense. So those are mine, bud.
Yeah, and I will say, I kind of cheated on this, and I had and I can make the rules, so I can cheat a little bit. Overlap for sure, but I had most impactful the Legends of Coaching series that we did. I did air quotes there, which
Yep.
was Lincoln Phillips, Shellis, and Randy. And I will say to your point, like it's what we're talking about on the show, how soccer explains leadership, right? They've been in the soccer world most of their lives,
Yeah.
right? And what I loved about each of them to a person, they're talking about all they've learned over the years and how they've transitioned and talk about when times have changed and the culture's changed, not the culture of their teams, but like societal culture. They've been doing it long enough that it has, and how they had to shift and how they had to adapt and how they had to do different things. And man, those interviews were so good for so many different reasons. And I'll say the documentary, I watched Redemption Song by or it's about Lincoln Phillips and that whole experience that they had in the NCAA finals and all those different things that happened with them and that team. Um, such a powerful documentary. But those interviews were incredible. Just again, grateful they took the time, but love to get them back on and continue those conversations. It reminded me like Horace Richardson, just 50 years of coaching, and just these guys have all done it, you know, pretty much that long, if
Yeah.
not that long. Um, also Todd, he was one of mine. And the reason I picked that one, because I think to your point, like I went through and every one of them I could have picked.
Yeah.
Literally. Like, Paul Gizzy. I'm like, yeah, of course. Like it was so fun and just funny and his stories as well. And going back to Ollie or Ruth was such a great conversation. Jessica, great conversations. But the thing about Todd's that I loved um was the just the rawness of it.
Mm.
He was so vulnerable. And I don't know if that was because of your relationship and your friendship with him, or just because I that was my first conversation I ever had with him. Um, but he shared some really tough things in that interview. And again, how, he talks with he talks with his just about how he changed after tragedy, right? And how he got perspective and how how God just comforted him and also helped him understand how he needed to change if he wanted to really impact his team and his players at deeper levels. And that was powerful. It was really powerful. And so I he's not one of my closest friends, like I know you are with him, but I felt like he was sharing as if we were. And you as the listeners get to benefit from that as I did. So I was really not just impressed with him, but just impacted, like, that's the word, impacted by that.
Hmm.
And then the last one, because I did three as well, should have just said three, is David Irby. That conversation with David was powerful as well, because that's a guy who's not a legend in soccer by any stretch of the imagination. He's kind of like me, where he played a little bit as a kid and loves the game, but has seen the power of the game around the world. And to hear his stories of, if you listen to the kind of memorable moments of the year, the like went to South Sudan and they thought you know, they thought they might die. They wrote letters to their family
Mhm.
about this might be it. Crazy,
Yeah.
crazy. But the power of the game to encourage reconciliation in the midst of these war-torn countries. Uh, and to see how he's just said, Lord, lead me and help me to use this game to touch lives. And that's when you talk about why we do the show, that's what it is. How can we use this game to touch lives, to impact lives as coaches, as leaders in organizations, as parents, as spouses, as friends? What does that look like? And it's why we're so passionate about what we do. It's why we keep doing it. We're not making any money doing this. We're not, getting acclaim and fame and fortune. Um, but we know it helps our lives and we know it's helping your lives. And that's what we hope this game will continue to do. And so those were my three. I think it's
Good.
interesting that we did not plan to have so much overlap.
Nope.
But I think those ones, again, go back and listen to all of them if you haven't. But those ones, especially if you haven't listened to them, go back and check them out. So, all right. So the next thing we'll do is kind of go through impactful books, movies, different things. And Paul, we had this conversation already. Why don't you share your favorite your favorite most impactful in those areas?
Yeah, and I'm gonna be vulnerable here, Phil, with our listeners, and admit that this has been a year. I'm gonna call it a year of ignorance in some ways, because I know that readers are leaders and leaders are readers, and I didn't do a lot of reading this year. And it was funny because I went back. I keep a log every year of books that I read to kind of keep up and stay on task with a goal.
Mhm.
I failed this year in my goals of reading. A lot of that had to do with job change and having to read a lot of training materials and things like that that kept me, you know, there was no pleasure, not a lot of pleasure reading,
Yeah.
for sure. But I am a podcast guy. I do have a lot of podcasts that I listen to that are whether it's church services or ministry stuff or leadership stuff or business types of things. But I did have the chance to watch some movies this year. Whether they're going to be family appropriate or not, I'll leave that up to the listeners to dictate that. But it was having children who are old enough to watch some movies now. We do watch some movies, and the Gladiator. We watched that again this year because we want to watch Gladiator 2. Yes, I did let my children watch Gladiator. So you can judge me if you like. It's a lot of violence, but whatever. That's my prerogative. I thought that the sequel of Twisters was very good, better than the
That was
first. It
good.
was better than the first Twisters,
Yeah.
I think. And a movie or a series that our family has been into for a while, but we really dove into this year for sure, has been the Passion series.
Mm.
My kids will even ask, I balanced the Gladiator movie with the Passion series in my house, but our kids will, at night say, hey, if we don't have time to watch a movie, can we watch a Passion? And it's just I think they do a really good job of.
You mean Chosen?
I'm sorry, yes, Chosen. Sorry, Passion is
Okay.
the movie, which is a great movie
Yes,
also.
it is great, but I didn't know there was
Sorry,
a
the
series. I was
Chosen
like, "What's the
series.
series?
Yeah, I know
What's the
that would be
series?"
awesome. No, the Chosen series. Sorry, yeah. So
Yes.
yeah, can we
Yeah.
watch a Chosen? Yeah.
Yeah.
And that I think they do just a great job
Hmm.
of kind of personifying it is the right word, but really making the Bible come alive.
Yeah.
And it makes it very relatable even to my kids to have, you know, faces with names and things like that that, is good for them as we're navigating, what the Bible looks like and what it teaches, and to be able to correlate back and forth with our Bible time that we have. So um, that's kind of my in a nutshell what the year has looked like. I will tell you though that 2025 is a year where If we're having this same show this time next year and I'm saying the same thing, there's a problem. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's address that. Let's give me some
We'll
help.
have an intervention. We'll have an intervention.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But I know that you are a great reader, and I would love to hear, because I do have a long list of books to read. It's not, hey folks, it's not like I don't have a list of books that I want to read. Okay, I have a long list of books. Uh, what do we both use the word degenerate? Is that the word that we
Yeah, I
both used
think we
earlier?
both,
Yeah,
yes, we did. We
degenerate.
both at the same time without discussing said degenerate.
Yeah,
So, I mean, that might be a bit
I'll take it.
harsh. Might be a
No,
bit
I'll take
harsh.
it. I'll take
Okay.
it. I'm
All
not
right. All
soft.
right.
I
I'm
can
not saying it's not
admit.
true. I'm just saying it might be harsh.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
but hey, but it's going to motivate me in 2025 to get
yes,
back on my reading list
that's right.
to knock that out. So that's so we'll talk about goals. One of my
Yeah.
2025 goals is to get back onto my reading list.
Well, good. That's a very good goal.
I think so.
I was actually, I was slacking this year on my list. So if it makes you feel any better, I only probably finished 25 or 26 books
Oh,
this year, which is
geez. Guys,
not even one
overachiever.
every other week. It's like crazy. But I listened to my books, so that's the other thing. Some people would say that, yeah, I didn't read anything either. I did read probably three or four, actually read a book, which, that's not as common for me. Um, but I would say the top few books I read. Now, I will say it took me 50 years and to finish the Chronicles of Narnia series that my dad started with me and my brother when we were kids.
Yeah.
I read through the furthest I went with one of my kids was Horse and His Boy,
Uh,
which is the fifth book, depending on how you read them. Some people read The Magician's Nephew first, but that's actually the sixth book written. So I read them in how C.S. Lewis wrote them. But finished, I just said, you know what? I'm just going to finish them because I don't think, I'm on my fifth kid and he doesn't care about reading with me. So,
right.
which by the way, he's also the one who struggled most in school. So parents, read to your kids early because when we had our fifth kid, he kind of got lost in the shuffle as far as reading as much. And he didn't really have that interest, interestingly, because he loved spending time with us. And so, but especially today's day and age, it's really easy to get him in the screens. So, but Magician's Nephew and The Last Battle were the last two that I finished that series. Man, such great stuff. That series is unbelievable. If you haven't read that series, it's just great storytelling, great allegory, great biblical messages, and just C.S. Lewis in his finest, I believe. So that was a couple of them, and then I'm leaving the soccer one for last, or the sports one for last. But The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt is a must read for parents in our current cultural moment. That Jonathan Haidt also wrote Coddling of the American Mind and The Righteous Mind, both great books. I recommend all of it. Anything he writes, I recommend. But that book is all about social media, the impact of social media on our children's minds, and what we can do about it. And so it's basically the subtitle is How the Great Rewiring of Childhood is Causing an Epidemic of Mental Illness. And such a great book. Then Lead with Prayer by Peter Greer and Ryan Skoog and Cameron Doolittle. Also, just because Ryan Skoog, that's a cool name. But Peter Greer we had him on the show. We just recasted his episode, the president of Hope International. But he wrote this book about how prayer, the spiritual habits of world changing leaders, is the subtitle of that one. Super great book. Super great book. Just all about just exactly what the subtitle talks about. And then the last
I
one,
feel a quick tidbit
yeah,
that you may not have known. Cameron Doolittle, one of those authors, is actually in Waco, Texas. He's
there you go.
a folk that we know. Great guy. So that's
So
actually a
you
book
pretty much read the
on my
book.
list. I
You
wrote
pretty
it.
much read it.
I pretty much
Yeah,
wrote it.
yeah, yeah, because you hung
It
out
is
with
on my list
Cameron.
though because of Cameron. One of the
Yeah,
reasons. So anyway,
there you go. I did not
tidbit.
know that.
Small
But
world.
by osmosis, you might as well just count it as the book you read this year
Done.
because he's in Waco.
Exactly.
So yeah, and so there you go. Peter's great friend and a guy you can listen to on the show as well. And then Cameron's in Waco. So that's all you need to know.
That's all you need to know.
Um,
A lot of connections there.
And then the last one, we actually used this with my high school team leadership council to create our values this year for our team. It's called the Hard Hat by John Gordon. It's 21 ways to be a
Mhm.
great teammate. And we had them pick four of those ways, and it was really great. I really enjoyed the book. It's short. It's all about the first part of it's a story of the Cornell lacrosse player. John Gordon was also a lacrosse player, but one of the guys who died on the field, and he was just a great leader. And so they tell that story, and then the 21 ways to be a great teammate. They go through those. Just really good, simple book that go through it and see how your team matches up to some of those things. And I'd strongly encourage it for leadership teams as well because it is so simple. So I would, those are my books.
It's good.
I'll fly through a few movies that I really enjoyed this year as well. Bonhoeffer was one that was very good. By Angel Studios, all about the life of Dietrich Bonhoeffer. If you don't know the story, recommend it. If you've read any books on him, you might be disappointed because it doesn't go into as much detail. If you haven't, it's a good primer on Dietrich Bonhoeffer's life. Very good movie. Um, Surprise of the year for me, best Christmas pageant ever. I was
Oh,
shocked.
I want to see that. I haven't seen it. I do want to see
Loved
that.
it. Loved it. It was so good. It was so good. So just check that out. I was very surprised. Even though it did get 98% on Rotten Tomatoes, I was still surprised that I thought it was going to be like cheesy Hallmark movie,
I don't
but
usually
it
line up
was,
with Rotten Tomatoes anyway.
yeah,
So
but it was very, very good.
cool.
Um, and then, if I watch this movie during the year, it will be on my list, Kicking and Screaming. Um, Such a great soccer movie. I think that Will Ferrell, just classic. You've seen that
Yeah.
with your kids,
Oh,
I
yeah. Oh,
assume.
we've seen it multiple
Yeah,
times.
yeah, I hope
Absolutely.
so. Yeah,
I
like
laugh
it's just
just because it's Will Ferrell. I laugh
every
nonstop.
time. You
Yeah.
can't like I know what's gonna happen and I laugh. I mean, the
Yeah.
whole bringing the espresso machine out to the field. Like, I mean,
Hmm.
like, are you kidding me? That movie's just fantastic, and actually good lessons in that movie too.
Yeah.
If you wade through it. Um, and then I'll tell you what. Last one I'm gonna say. I think the movie Safety was good.
Oh, yeah.
On Disney Plus. I think it also goes into a lot of the things we talk about. The Is
Yeah.
it for the kids or for the money or for all these other things? It's a really good. I love watching that with my sons because it's similar to. I mean, not that my son is living with although he did live with him for a week at Biola this year, but that was a little different. Um, but that's a special relationship. And then the Shawshank Redemption, that my
Well,
oldest
that's a good movie.
came home over Thanksgiving and said, "Hey," and some people might judge me for watching that with my 13-year-old as well, but because there are some very strong themes, prison stuff, but
Hmm.
such a great movie. And I loved the conversations after it with my kids. But my son came home and he's like, "Hey, Dad, I got this list of movies. There's Shawshank Redemption, Stand By Me, Green Mile, some other classics." I'm like, "Yes, finally, my kids are." Because usually I'm like, "Hey, let's watch this old movie," and they're like, "No,
Yeah.
lame." But we watched him, but we watched Stand By Me and Shawshank over Thanksgiving and just loved it. Anyway, those are
Nice.
those. And then I will say I did watch both documentaries about both the trebles. As hard as it was for me to watch Man City Treble documentary, my kids wanted to watch that with me, and I obliged. But then to counter it, we watched 99, which is about United's treble, and just because it just happened, United just won the derby as well, so that was pretty cool. But anyway, those are the kind of rundown on all that stuff. We're ready to kind of wrap up this episode, this year end, another year, another season, and more
Well, I
great
got it.
episodes.
Listen, and 2024 has been a great year. I don't have any problems with 2024, but I'm ready for 2025. I really am.
I
I'm
am
not
too.
not holding on to anything with 2024, even though it wasn't a bad year. It wasn't, but I'm really excited about what's to come. I really think from a show perspective, I think there's some great things coming. We've built a lot of momentum with folks. Would love to hear from people that are listening, kind of what they'd like to see or hear as well. But a lot of momentum there, a lot of momentum within the family and the things that we're doing. And I'm excited about 2025, Phil. I hope you are as well.
I am. I am. I'm very excited. And I was a little nervous. I'm not gonna lie. You take a new job, you got different things going on. I'm like, Paul might call me and say, "Hey, I don't know if this thing's gonna work anymore." But what what I think we both know is that this show helps us as much as, helps anybody else. And it encourages us. And I too am very excited for 25 in my life, but also for this show because like Paul was saying, we got some great people. And I also have a lot of people coming to me with guests, which is great.
It's great.
A lot of guests trying to get on, which is great because, we're able to really have some great people. Some of you've heard of, other people you haven't. And that's what I love about it. And all of them are bringing wisdom that we get to learn from. So that's what 25 is going to bring, no doubt. Season 12 is finally going to kick off. And very, very excited for it all. Um, all right, folks. Well, this brings us to another year, another great year we had. And we're going to have another great year in 25, no doubt. So, as always, folks, we hope that you're taking everything you're learning from this show and you're using it to be a better spouse, a better parent, a better coach, a better leader, better friend, better in everything that you do. And consistently, continually remind yourself that soccer does explain life and leadership. Thanks a lot. Have a great couple weeks.